Hello, this is Dr. Rina Rani Ray. I'll be discussing today on microbial fermentation. Now, what is fermentation? It is actually defined as the extraction of energy from carbohydrates in the absence of oxygen. It is more broadly referred to any process in which the activity of microorganisms brings about a desirable change to a foodstuff or beverage. In microorganisms, fermentation is a primary means of producing adenosine triphosphate, that is ATP, by the degradation of organic nutrients anaerobically. So what is a biofermenter? It is actually the bioreactor, which is a closed vessel with adequate arrangement for aeration, agitation, temperature, and pH control, and the drain or overflow vent to remove the waste biomass of cultured microorganisms along with their products. A fermenter is used for commercial production in which a substrate of low value is utilized by living cells or enzymes to generate a product of higher value. Fermenters are extensively used for food processing, fermentation of waste treatment, and so on. So fermentation procedure, we can see here the events of fermentation. It allows glycolysis to continue producing ATP when oxygen is unavailable, that is in anaerobic condition. In glycolysis, glucose is converted into 2-pyruvate, that is 2 pyruvic acid molecules are generated, and these pyruvates enter the fermentation to produce 2 molecules of ethanol. During the process of anaerobic fermentation, microorganisms break down biomass in an oxygen-free environment. Fermentation takes place in 4 steps, namely hydrolysis, fermentation, that is acidogenesis, formation of acid molecules, then acetogenesis and methanogenesis. This methanogenesis, that is the last step, leads to the production of biogas and digester, that is a wet residue. There are 4 major types of fermentation, namely alcoholic fermentation, lactic acid fermentation, acetic acid fermentation, and alkaline fermentation. As the names imply, alcoholic fermentation produces alcoholic beverages with the help of yeast. Lactic acid bacteria, they convert this lactic acid formation is done by this bacteria. Then acetic acid fermentation, it is done by the acetic acid bacteria where acetic acid is formed. And in alkaline fermentation, different bacteria, mainly bacillus, they will produce some amino acids. So there are few types of fermentation, namely batch type, fed batch type, continuous type, then aerobic, anaerobic, and solid state. So let us start with batch type. So batch cultivation is closed system where there is no interaction between the system and the surrounding during the process, except air during the aerobic cultivation. So here we can see where no extra feeding is used from beginning to the end of the process. So first medium preparation for the bioreactor, then the microbial inoculation will be done and microbe is allowed to grow. And finally, the product is isolated after maximum harvest. So in batch process, all nutrients are provided only at the beginning of the cultivation without adding any more in the subsequent bioprocess. During the entire bioprocess, some other parameters like pressure of gases, acids, and bases are controlled in a closed system. The bioprocess then lasts until the nutrients are fully consumed. This strategy is suitable for rapid experiments such as strain characterization or the optimization of nutrient medium. To improve the availability of dissolved oxygen, the oxygen transfer rate must be increased by increasing the stirring speed, the gas flow, the proportion of oxygen in the gas mix, or the pressure in a bioreactor. It is obviously a discontinuous process. There are certain advantages of a batch culture, like it has a short duration, less chance of contamination as no nutrients are added in the midway, then easy separation of batch material for traceability, and very easy to manage. But there are obviously some disadvantages. That the product is mixed with nutrients, reagents, cell debris, and toxins. In order to separate them, we have to centrifuge or like that. Then low yield of biomass and product, and increased rate for substrate or product inhibition. So in our lab, we used to do this batch culture for our routine work in the shake flasks. Now we are coming to feed batch, where feeding with substrate and supplements can extend the duration of a culture for higher cell densities. Generally, the substrate is pumped from the supply bottle, here we can see, into the culture vessel through a silicone tube. The user can either manually set the feed at any time, it may be linear, exponential, or pulse-wise, or add nutrients when specific conditions are met, such as when a certain biomass concentration is reached or when a nutrient is totally depleted. The feed batch process offers a wide range of control strategies and is also suitable for highly specialized applications. So here we can see that it can be controlled either manually or in other way we can control the reactor. So our feed batch process is a partly open system. It's a semi-continuous process with the higher product quantities. The user also needs to have a more in-depth understanding of bioprocess, and it increases the processing time. It leads to inhibition through the accumulation of toxic byproducts, and in feed batch processes, they're now used in all areas of production, in particular for the production of recombinant proteins and antibiotics. There are several advantages of a feed batch culture. It extends a culture's productive duration. It can be used to switch genes on and off by changing the substrate. And it can be manipulated for maximum productivity using different feeding strategies. There are obviously some disadvantages because it allows buildup of inhibitory agents and toxins. It provides another point of ingress for contamination. It may produce high cell density numbers and product yields which are difficult to deal with in downstream, creating bottlenecks in the whole process. And then lastly, we are coming to continuous culture. It is used to cultivate microorganisms at submaximal growth rates at different growth limitations in such a way that the culture conditions remain virtually conditioned. That is, it should be maintained in steady state over extended periods of time. That means one must have clear idea about the lag phase, log phase, and stationary phase, the duration of those phases of a particular microorganism. Here, as much fresh culture medium is added as it is removed. That means you can see here, it can be added and it can be removed to keep cell density constant. That is called the chemostat, or the feed rate of the substrate, that is the turbidostat. Cell retention can offer another very productive option, that is perfusion. And the balanced nature allows a steady state, which is good for studying microbial metabolism or long-term production. The three common types of continuous culture are: first, chemostat. The rate of addition of a single growth limiting substrate controls cell manipulation. That means a single type of substrate will control the entire production. Then turbidostat, that is turbidity or cell density, controls addition and removal of liquid. We can remove the liquid or we can add as it is required depending on the turbidity or the cell density. This needs an additional sensor but is driven by real-time feedback. And perfusion, this mode is based on either retaining the cells in the bioreactor or recycling the cells back to the bioreactor. Fresh medium is provided and cell-free supernatant gets removed at the same rate. So here we can see it can be controlled in both the way. So media can be added and cell can be discarded, and from here we can collect the harvest. So the advantage of a continuous culture are it allows the maximum productivity, the time for cleaning, sterilization, and handling of the vessel are all reduced. It provides a steady state for metabolic studies when many elements sum to zero because they are maintained in the steady state. Regarding the disadvantages, it's difficult to keep a constant population density over prolonged period. And the products of a continuous process cannot be separated into batches for traceability. And it increased risk of contamination or genetic changes that may be there. Now, a quick look on the difference between this all these cultures like batch culture, feed culture, and continuous culture. Regarding the cultivation system, it's a closed type, that is batch culture is a closed type. Continuous culture is open type, where feed batch type is semi-closed. Regarding addition of fresh nutrition, in batch culture, we cannot add, whereas in others, we can add in the midway. Volume of the culture in batch culture and in continuous culture, they are kept constant, but in feed culture, according to the need, it may increase. Then removal of waste, only in continuous culture, it can be removed, but in others, it cannot. Chance of contamination, maximum is in continuous culture and minimum in batch culture. Regarding growth phase, in batch culture, lag, log, stationary, and decline phase, you can find it in the shake flask given. And here also in feed batch culture, but in continuous culture, as the steady state is maintained, only the lag and log phase, these are maintained. Regarding log phase, it is longest and continuous in continuous culture. In batch culture, it is shorter, but in feed batch culture, it is longer. Regarding the density of bacteria, in batch culture and feed batch culture, they are changing with time, but here the density in the turbidostat, it's maintained, that is, it remains same. Regarding the product yield, we know in continuous culture, the product yield is quite high and the lowest in batch culture. Now we are coming to another type, that is solid state fermentation or SSF. It's a biomolecule manufacturing process used in food, pharmaceutical, cosmetic, fuel, and textile industries. These molecules are mostly metabolites generated by microorganisms grown on a solid support selected for this purpose, like enzymes. So here we can see the selected microbe is grown on the solid state fermentation, some food and agro byproducts, and it may change into sugar, enzyme, some functional chemical sources, and generic fermentation feedstocks are taken. Then the selected microbe may be grown in subsequent submerged fermentation, and some value-added products may be formed, like biodegradable plastics, fuel, chemicals, etc. Another one is aerobic fermentation or aerobic glycolysis. We are discussing about anaerobic condition. Now we are emphasizing the aerobic fermentation. It's a metabolic process by which cells metabolize sugar via fermentation in the presence of oxygen and occurs through the repression of normal respiratory metabolism. Through fermentation, we used to get a number of food. We used to use a number of fermented food, like humans have used fermentation to produce foodstuffs and beverages. It is used for preservation in a process that produces lactic acid found in such foods like pickled cucumbers, kombucha, kimchi, and yogurt, as well as for producing alcoholic beverages such as wine and beer. And fermentation also occurs within the gastrointestinal tracts of all animals, including humans. So this is all about fermentation, and there are so many types of fermentation. So we can see here the microbes, they're taking part in fermentation, and fermented food So thank you.